The Lizardmen tech tree is pretty dense, but not too complicated once you get to know it. You basically have 8 rows of tech, which are unlocked with buildings, and getting deeper into each row can be done by getting these 2 techs. They give +3 control, which is insanely good. But before I get more into the weeds of the tech tree, our sponsor, Yahaha. It's a brand new platform for creating 3D multiplayer experiences. You can build with as much creativity as you want without needing any coding experience. All that and managing servers is all handled by Yahaha. And with the weeds out of the way, it's much easier to make whatever games you want. And as for multiplayer, players can invite their friends or potentially meet new ones. All you have to do is join one of the many immersive 3D spaces to find like-minded communities. If this interests you at all, feel free to download Yahaha Studio using the link below. You can find it in the description and the comments to get early access now for free. There's really nothing stopping you from getting started right now. But back to the tech tree, let's go over all the buffs you get for each row. Starting off with the first, I can roughly describe this as the Chevron Tier, and it's honestly not that enticing. Extra Chevron upgrades generally come too late before they can benefit your army, and you'll need to recruit 2,000 gold worth of Skinks and Saurus each and every single turn to get 100 gold a turn. And while this is possible with Saurus, most people aren't spamming Saurus warriors every turn. 1 out of 10. Now for a path I'd highly recommend instead, we have the War Path. This one gives you a lot of utility on top of a pretty decent gold increase, as you'll only need 2,000 gold worth of battle loot to get 100 gold a turn, and very often, battles can provide a lot more than that. So as long as you're fighting at least 1 battle every turn, you're going to be making pretty good money off of the first tech. And while campaign movement range and magic item drop chance can be pretty nebulous in terms of how good they actually are, these are generally very nice buffs that are highly sought after by many people. And as for the leadership, +8 leadership means that your units can be charged in the back basically for free. As for comparison, getting charged in the back is a -14 leadership debuff, and this can reduce that all the way down to -6. And as a player who very much enjoys sacking settlements, +20% income is absolutely massive, as you'll only need to sack 500 gold on average each and every single turn to meet the 100 gold a turn benchmark for this tech. Or as a rough approximation, this means if you sack 1 major settlement every 40 turns, this tech's probably gonna be worth it. And of course, casualty replenishment is great too. The less time your armies spend idle, the more they can be gathering gold for you. Definitely a 10 out of 10 upgrade path. As for the next path, it's pretty good, but nothing too crazy. Though if you really like spamming hero actions, this is obviously the way to go, as you'll only need to spend 333 gold a turn on hero actions to meet the 100 gold a turn benchmark. 6 out of 10 for only being good if it fits into the right playstyle. Now moving on to a pretty economy-focused row, we have the tech tree that makes building significantly cheaper, as even if we ignore the Cult of Sotek, Cult of the Old Ones, and Star Chamber cost reductions, it turns out you'll only need to spend 500 gold a turn on capital buildings to make 100 extra gold a turn extra. And since it's very common to see people spending 2,000 gold a turn on capital buildings, this can very easily save you a lot of money. And let's not forget that the +25 growth is very useful too. 8 out of 10. And now for the deceptively labeled income section. In my tests, extra tradable resources generally doesn't increase your economy by that much. In fact, at times it can almost be negligible, so I think it's fairly safe to ignore the first upgrade. And as for the industry upgrades, it's good, but probably not as good as you would think, as you'd need 10 tier 1 industry buildings just to meet the 100 gold a turn average. Resource producing buildings are pretty rare too, so don't expect a lot of money from that either, which really only leaves tariffs, ports, cities, and mines and quarries. So that's 1,000 gold a turn from trade tariffs, 1,000 gold a turn from ports to meet the benchmark, and as it turns out, that's 13 tier 1 ports or 7 tier 3 ports. And as for cities, you need to be making 666 gold a turn before you can reach the 100 gold a turn benchmark. Now this is a little bit more accessible, as you can hit this benchmark with only 2 provinces, but really you're taking this tech tree for the final upgrade, which really blows all other cost savings out of the water, as gold mines can give 600 gold a turn and marble quarries can give 200. So if you're producing those resources, definitely get to the final tech, and if you're not, generally there's some better cost-saving tech trees out there. 7 out of 10. Now moving on to the row that primarily upgrades skinks, this can be quite good if you're going heavy onto skinks, and you'll be making 100 gold a turn for every 10 skinks units more or less. But of course this is more niche and not a must-take situation, so 6 out of 10. And it's very similar for the Saurus row too. You have a lot of good upgrades if you want to be spamming Saurus. And as for the final upgrade row, I'm only going to be giving it 5 out of 10, because unlike the Saurus and skink upgrades, these ones are much less useful unless you really like Pterodon riders. But overall, the upgrades aren't that great for the other units. Bastiodons don't really benefit that much from an extra 5 melee defense, and Stegodons, Carnosaurs, and Dreadsaurians already have a very high chance to hit, so melee attack and charge bonus won't really make them more effective. Not to mention the upkeep reduction is pretty far down the tree too. But in the end, if you disagree with my ratings, that's totally fine with me. I've shown all the texts available to the Lizardmen in this video, so hopefully this was useful, and if you're interested in another tech tree rundown, feel free to comment what you'd like to see next below.